Okay. So Jim, your book's now been out for a couple of weeks. What's the feedback been like for you?
Well, it's been good. I sold one to my doctor, my GP, and I sold one to my neighbour. So it's going through the roof. I've sold two.
Well, you sold two, and
It's been,
I got four free copies.
oh, oh, well, that's what's that? Four and six. Hold on, four and six. Six.
Six,
Yeah,
excellent.
two and six. To answer your question, I'm told by a friend on Facebook um, that apparently it's doing really well in the UK. Um, so I don't know. It's apparently it's doing well. Yeah.
That's excellent. Have you
Yeah. I mean, I'm going.
have you always had a book inside you, Jim? Have you always wanted to write this story, and what sort of made you do it now?
Um, no, I don't think I ever owned inside me. When the band split up, um, I was sort of sitting around. I didn't know what to, and I did a course in London, a creative writing course. I know that's hard to believe because you've read the book, but I actually did the creative writing course. So I guess I had a sort of seed of an idea. And when I got to Australia, I lived in Sydney to start with for 6 years, and that's a great place. And I started sort of putting things together, but I didn't really think of it as a book
Yeah.
for quite a long time. Yeah.
And did you find it easy to write once you started?
Yeah, once I started, I mean, in the book, there's a couple of flashbacks, which I'd written about, the time I re-supported the Who when
Yes.
I was in the Conning band. That was, crumpled up on exercise book. So I found that, and then I found another one. Um, I had a great story in Spain, actually. I lived in Spain for a couple of months when I was very early on in my career, and that was hilarious, and that was a really funny story, and I lost
Oh.
it. So, for any aspiring writers out there, keep your exercise books. I've searched everywhere.
Couldn't
Yeah,
find it.
yeah. So, yeah, it kind of wrote itself really. I just put bits and pieces together and got me diaries. Um, yeah, so it sort of wrote itself really.
Yeah. Well, I mean, thank you for letting me be part of it as well, Jim, because it's been quite good fun sort of finding all the stuff from our own archives and getting it sent over to you, and then seeing it in print.
Yeah,
It's really nice.
yeah. Will you help me with some stuff? And I got some help from Paul Jacobs
Yes.
uh, in the book, who I describe as the Fonz.
Yes.
He uh, he helped me out with some stuff, and of course Eddie Chin.
Yep.
Eddie lived in New Orleans
Oh,
for quite
okay.
a while,
Right.
um, and he sort of sent me some stuff. So I got help, but you guys were very helpful. Yeah.
Oh, thank you. So, do you sort of have your own archive of records and memorabilia and gold discs and stuff like that, Jim, or has it sort of got lost over the years?
Uh, no, I've got some badges and some programs, and the one I'm looking for is somewhere I've got an actual itinerary of
Ah,
the
yeah.
Australian tour with all the dates, and I'm going through my cardboard boxes at the moment. It's very covered in dust and everything, but I know it's somewhere. In fact, when I get it, I'll send it to you, Steve. And it's from memory, it's hilarious because it gives you this introduction, like first time in Australia, and it's got some really funny sort of, in this country we do this and we don't do that.
Yeah.
Um,
So,
yeah, and yeah.
that sounds like another book in the making there, Jim. The Englishman's Guide to Australia.
Yeah, it was like that, like an Englishman in New York. Um, but one thing I have got is that I really want to keep is I've got this boiler suit. Some of the road crew used to have these white boiler suits, a bit like Townsend's boiler suit in the Who,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And on the back, it's got the Last Laugh tour, you know, the Japanese
I know, yeah.
tragedy, and yeah, and that's fucking a scary song. But if I got that out and if I cleaned it and everything, I'm very pleased I still got that, yeah.
Excellent. And what about the actual records themselves?
Oh yeah, no, I've got all the vinyls, and I've got the vinyl, you know, the colour one of I Don't Want to Be With You.
Yeah,
I think it was
the yellow vinyl from the middle room.
Yeah, that's the one.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm not very good at collecting, but yeah, I guess you could say I've got a fairly good collection. But not really. You know, I'm not really a collector.
Yeah. But we'll come back to some of that in later on when we've got a few questions around some of the artwork and bits and pieces. But
oh yeah,
if we could perhaps talk about the Tourists, the band, for the minute now. As you know, a lot of the questions we've got here have been sent in by some of the fans. So I've tried to put them in an order that makes a bit of sense. So the first one we've got.
Don't this make sense to you? Hold on. I can't hear you very well. I'm just gonna. I got these shirty glasses on. Hold on. I can't hear you at all. That's
you can hear me now. Brilliant. Well done. Okay, so. How much input did the other tourists have on your drumming for each of the song, or did they really leave it up to you just to get the beat right for the song that was being recorded?
It was kind of a shared experience. We had this house in Hendon where I lived in North London, and we actually had a studio built it was actually the front room of the house, and we had 2 Revox machines, so we used that every day, and we actually recorded all our demos there, which actually got us the record deal.
Right.
And they were great days because Annie and Dave and Pete and Eddie, they'd come out early in the morning, and my bedroom was upstairs, you know, so it's fabulous. I came downstairs, had some breakfast, straight on the kit. Pete used to set the songs up, and Dave was kind of, you know, he'd kind of come in, and Dave was really the MD, the musical director in a way, and we would kind of shape the song. And Annie, you played a lot of keyboard earlier on in the demos, so we sort of, I don't know, everything was very fast because you know we were going out at night and watching, you know, the Vibrators, and there was so many bands that were just, it was right at the height of the punk thing.
Yeah.
So everything was which I found really exciting because I'd gone through the whole hippie, laid back, hey man, you know, Pink Floyd, and suddenly that didn't appeal to me anymore, or anybody really. There was like a sort of, it was weird, you know, like there was just a sort of complete change of things that I enjoyed listening to, you know. Yeah, so we sort of jammed the songs really, you know, and Pete would have the lyrics and a few of the sign, you know, a few chord changes, and yeah, so we all sort of.
And do you think that sort of spontaneity in the studio is missing today in today's music industry? It all seems so clinical at times.
Yeah, I don't know. Well, of course, with the advent of the drum machine, I use them quite a lot. I mean, I'm in the studio now. We've been doing all sorts of stuff, and I really enjoy. What I really enjoy is Dave Stewart's programming.
Yeah.
On those Eurythmics songs. I mean, and I know he only had a little cheap. They played me Sweet Dreams just for Imagery.
Yes.
And this is quite a good story. Yeah, because he said, Jim, come and have a listen. And I met him in a bar at Dingwall's nightclub in Camden Town. This is about a month after, or maybe longer. maybe 6 months after we got back, and I hadn't seen him much. And of course, we were in the bar, you know, and he said, "Oh, I'm really excited about this song." He said, "Come and have a listen." So I went to the studio, and there was a little, he wanted a little ting, like a little Buddhist little ting bell, which I didn't have on me, but I had access to. Anyway, when he played me the song, my first reaction was, "Dave, there's no guitar." You know, give me a break, Dave. You're one of the best guitar players I know. You know, and he said, "No, I did it all on keyboard." And I probably made the underestimated comment. I said, "Dave, that song is so good. You know, sweet dreams are made of this. You know, who am I to disagree? What great lyrics, you know." I said, "Dave, that could go top 10.
Little did they know.
Yeah, within 6 months it was #1 in America, #1 in England, and all around the world. Yeah, and I said, that could be top 10, Dave.
Yeah, it's interesting, Jim, because Dave has. Sorry, Jim. Dave has recently been doing a few sort of in conversation with, and he's deconstructed all of the individual tracks from Sweet Dreams, and he plays people back each individual track, and then slowly layers it back together again to make the song, and it's really quite interesting to see how it's been sequenced.
Yeah, I heard about that. Yeah, and of course it was all an 8-track.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
And I said, "Oh, you know, you didn't do that on 8-track because it was all the, you know, the bridge was all the cellos."
Yeah,
wow.
Clever stuff. So,
I'd never make it as an A&R guy, would I?
So was it odd having a couple in the band, Jim? And from your book, it sort of seems that, you know, particularly on tour, there was sort of definitely sort of three groups of you. There was sort of Pete, who seemed to be a bit of a loner, yourself and Eddie, who seemed to be great soulmates, and Annie and Dave as a couple. Was it quite an unusual dynamic for a band?
It was total insanity, really. I mean, Pete was the space cadet. Mind you, we all were really, I suppose, with the exception of Annie. Annie was lovely. She was totally motivated and totally focused. And it was like there was this sort of lady, and there were the rest of us were sort of like, "Oh, we'll go anywhere, and we'll do anything, you know, and we'll." And Annie was sort of right in the middle. Eddie Chin, I probably said about 9 sentences in the whole 3 years we were together. I mean, it's a lovely guy. And he was like, he would take everything in. Jim, I don't know if you remember when I described the first gig we ever did with Annie at the Open Anchor.
Yep.
And we supported the Vibrators, and I was at the bar with Eddie, and it was his first gig. He still had the chords written on the stage, you know. And we actually blew the room apart. Annie was just like, wow. You know, at rehearsals, we'd all be sort of quiet. And she sort of turned into this sort of swirling dervish, you know. It was just like, wow. And at the bar, Eddie said to me, this one of the few words he ever said, he said, "Eddie, what do you think? You know, it's a good gig, wasn't it?" And he said, "She's a star." Annie is a star. And I thought, well, I know, but I mean, don't you think we played well? You know, he was a bit like Buddha, really. It was like a Zen. Very simple, and he'd take everything in, Eddie, and he was a great bass player.
So was he quite a calming influence then?
Eh?
Was he quite a calming influence?
What?
Did you hear that?
Yeah. I mean, a lot of bass players. I've worked with a lot of different bands, and most bass players are usually very quiet and they're very cool. Trumpet players go anywhere, do anything. Guitar players, of course, Dave Stewart is the epitome of, you know, absolutely mad, crazy. Let's go out, you know. Singers can vary a lot, but usually bass. I don't know where I fit into this, but bass players are usually pretty cool. Guitar players are mad. Keyboard players are usually quite moody for some reason. Yeah, so as you go, as I went through all those different, I could almost tell if you'll meet someone and say, "Oh, I'm in a band." I say, "Oh, bass player." They're crazy, I say, "Oh, you play the guitar?" Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it was a lovely. Well, obviously it works. I mean,
Yes.
he wrote some of the most outstanding lyrics, apart from the chord changes and everything. It was just unbelievable.
And
the rehearsal
and
when we had so many songs.
Yeah.
We had too many, really. The first album we what should we do? We got all these,
Too many, yeah. So are there?
So it was, to answer your question, there was
sorry, Jim.
There was a definite chemistry. We're all different people. And of course, Dave and Annie were a couple. So Annie was a very calming influence on Dave, and I suppose Dave was had the outrageous influence on Annie. She started getting up to stage antics and
the performer, yeah.
Yeah, started using her own clothes, and she didn't like anybody else. She had her own style, and she became more and more outrageous.
It was,
which was stage influence, I guess.
And I think that's still the case today with Annie. I saw her a couple of weeks ago in London. She was performing at the Sadler's Wells, and at the end of the first set, Sisters Are Doing It For Themselves, she ended up lying on her back on the floor, legs in the air, and then she crawled off stage.
I wish I'd seen that.
So, she literally hauled herself off the stage.
After that song, that's quite a heavy song, actually.
That's it.
Yeah.
So
great, good on her.
So how would you describe your relationship with Pete, Jim? And did he sort of ask the band's opinions on the songs he was writing, or was he literally coming into the studio with the finished thing and saying, "Right, here's the next song"?
Oh no, he'd come in with more as the song finished. There's the lyrics, and this is the chord sequence.
Yeah.
I probably had more of an influence. Pete and I I'd say, "Pete, try it like this. Let's do it in half time." And Pete was a songwriter, really. And I don't think he saw himself as a musician the way most musicians think. He was a songwriter. So I'd say, "Look, let's try half time, sort of dun, 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 instead of dun, dun, what's a good example of that? Oh, sorry, that's my phone.
That's right.
Go away. What's a good one to describe? He'd come in with a song. Ain't No Room.
Yeah.
He came in with a song. Ain't No. And I'm a reggae freak, right? So I've always liked that sort of downbeat. So I said, let's just try it like this. And we actually recorded it as a reggae feel. There ain't no room. Oh, it makes no sense, And suddenly I've got Pete. Oh yeah, So I would influence him.
Yeah.
Hopefully, I think I did, and the rest of the band. So, and then I'd throw like a tango, like it's try it like this, or let it, And we had this lovely freedom of endless rehearsal time, because it was at my house and it was in the studio, So we just jammed over everything,
So you had three albums released, but by the sounds of it, you had enough material to probably do that again.
Yeah. In fact, I had a cassette, the old cassettes, and when I saw Dave in Sydney, I said, "Oh, Dave, I've got this," and did I give it to? Oh no, the next night we all went out. I think I mentioned that. When I took him to Dora's Fish Restaurant.
Yeah, yes.
That was a good night. And I gave him the cassette, and it was just us in that room in the house in Hendon, just trying different feels and everything. And he went, great. He said, that's like gold, you know. So I gave it to him, and I think he appreciated that.
Yeah.
There was some lovely pure Coombs lyric ideas, and you know, he was just, I've never worked with anyone like that, and he was a lovely guy, you know. I mean, he had his, you know, we used to drink too much, but you know, he was just a very special person.
Yeah. So we always know, well, we know from what you said about the stage presence of Annie, and obviously she went on to become one of the world's most recognised female singers. Do you think that there was a lost opportunity for the Tourists to have had Annie have more of a sort of presence at the on stage, or do you think that it was just it was a natural progression for Annie, that she'd sort of cut her teeth with the Tourists and now she was ready to go and do it her way?
Yeah, I think it was. I'm glad it happened, because it was a natural progression. I'd go for the latter part of that question. She had so much talent, and Pete's lyrics and became increasingly difficult to understand.
Yeah.
I mean, Line Among the Flowers, and then he would come out with It's Good to Be Back Home Again.
Yeah.
I mean, pure, beautiful song, simple, easily, a very accessible song. But as the tours went on, Annie was always being interviewed, because Pete point blank refused, and a lot of the time wasn't capable of doing an interview. But anyway, so poor old Annie, especially in America, was, you know, what is that song? And she'd say, well, actually, Pete Coombs writes the lyrics, and there was that continuous pressure on Annie, and she dealt with it really well. I mean, as she does now in interviews, she's very, very relaxed and very open.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it was. I think it was the best thing she could have done. We got pressure from the record company when we changed record companies, and the last album we did with RCA. So now we're with the big boys, RCA. They hear Annie's voice, and it's kind of buried because it's a unison and it's not really, you know. And they wanted Annie Lennox to be Annie Lennox, you know.
Yes.
I voted to release a song, one of Annie's, which was One Step Near the Edge.
Yep.
Well, One Step Closer, yeah. And had we released that, I think that would have put the Tourists into a completely new area, you know, because everything up to them was the da 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 da. You know, one step closer.
And
so much, well, you know, and it was Annie Lennox singing, who happened to be in the Tourists, you know.
Yeah.
And I voted the record company wouldn't have a bar, you know. They no, everything's got to be, you know. No, I was thrilled when Sweet Dreams took off, because I was here then.
Yes.
And it was actually released, yeah, and I was thrilled, you know. And I mean, it's so. I still can't believe it, really, that their songwriting talents were just bubbling under. But Pete was so prolific and so quick and such good songs that we didn't really have the time, you know, except at sound checks, touring in Europe, you know. We said, oh, let's try that at the sound check. There was really no time in the whole 3 years, and once they had time, once the band split, and Dave and Annie said, oh, well, we've got this little Casio, and we've got this. Now we don't have to worry about the band.
Yeah.
You know, being that sound. We'll just do our own stuff.
Do your own thing. Yeah.
Wow, what a good job they did.
And a very friendly bank manager.
Yeah. Oh, you've heard that story. Yeah,
Yeah,
I
they,
went
they,
over and
they,
yeah, to get the Anglican church. Yeah.
So we know how important sort of imagery has always been to, you know, to Eurythmics, but actually when you look back at the tourists, the imagery used on, you know, the album covers, and you had some very influential photographers working with you like Jared Mankiewicz, and you know, that were you in complete control of that side of the band, or was it all being dictated to you by the record company?
Yeah, that's an interesting question. Thinking back, I don't really know. Annie and Dave were always, they were the artists. They were the creative ones. I would just turn up, um, and I used to party too much. I was always in clubs, and I'd come up early, you know, late for the, and I'd turn up and, well, Jim, we're going to do this. I turned up one day and there was a white room, and I'd been told by the management company wear a white, you know, so, and it was fabulous, you know, it was just, and I don't know whose idea that was, and there was all these cans of paint, and Annie was wearing a wedding dress. I mean, I can only assume that that was Dave and Annie phoning the record company and say, look, this is what we want to do. I honestly don't know the answer, but it certainly wasn't me. And it was very unlikely to be Eddie, because he had to do 2 sentences to describe that. And in no way was it Pete. So
Had to be David
and
Annie.
that was such a great photo. That was the best photo shoot we ever did. Yeah.
And that obviously went on to be the cover for Reality Effect.
Yeah, and the single too.
Yeah,
you know,
yeah.
That of that album. And I remember getting the first, and I looked at Annie. I just went, what? And she had this. In fact, that photograph. I really wanted to put that photo in the book, but I thought, no, that's Annie's. It's a bit too personal. But her expression, if you look close at her expression when she's wearing that wedding dress, and there's bits of paint and blue colour, she is totally removed from everything that's going on. She's got the most amazing expression of, I don't know, it's like abstract, pure art.
Art,
you
yeah.
know, her and Dave, and they had a lot of artsy fartsy, as I used to call them, friends, you know, and they had Willie Smacks, who is a lovely guy.
Yeah, I've just been reading his biography, actually.
Oh yeah, I'm going to get that.
Yeah.
I wonder if I can get it over here. Yeah, he was, I mean, he was, you know, he said to me, I said to him one day, he said, let's do something artistic, and I'll film it. So I said, okay, look, why don't you give me a vat of wine, and we'll have a normal conversation, but I'll just keep drinking it like it's water, which this is. So we did, and I just got more and more drunk and more and more silly, I suppose, and he filmed the whole thing. I never saw it, but I mean, he was that sort of guy, you know.
Yeah.
Let's do something, you know. And Dave and I thrived on that, the artistic side of things. I was too far removed, really.
Jim, I'm just going to pause there for a second to save the first video, and then we'll just carry on in a second.